everybody, Payments Professor here, and I want to welcome you back to the Payments Podium. Today we're going to have some fun. I have a guest star. It's Jordan Wright. He's with Atomic Financial, and I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you guys who he is and what he's doing. But we're going to have an exciting talk, and some of it involves really the future of payments, and some of it involves how it's going to affect consumers. So there's a lot to come. So Jordan, would you please say hello to everybody?
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Like a little bit about myself, which I think what you asked for. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Atomic. Started Atomic about 4 years ago. And my co-founder's name is Scott Weinert. We've started a couple of businesses together. This business is focused on helping consumers switch direct deposit, verify income and employment. We do that through user permissioned access to payroll systems. More recently, we announced a change to our mission to champion the financial upward mobility of all. And that's something that we're focused on with a couple of new products we've announced recently, our PayLink product and some other things as well. But yeah, that's an overview of our company and who we are.
Okay, that's pretty cool stuff. And I'm going to have some more questions about that. But one of the things that for the guests of the Payments Professor, we always have to ask, and it's really to be able to encourage people who are new in the industry or people are looking to get into the industry is, how did you end up in this industry? Because very few people are, sitting there in kindergarten going, I'm going to be in electronic banking when I grow up. How did you end up working in electronic banking?
Yeah, great question. So my first startup that I started with my co-founder, Scott, we were looking at how to make splitting bills easier for roommates. And so it was a consumer problem that drew us into the industry. And then we discovered user permissioned access to data. We discovered a bunch of different things along those lines, decided to build a startup in that space that was called Unbill. We sold that startup to Q2 Holdings or Q2 eBanking in January of 2017. And that really got me more squarely into financial services generally.
Okay, so you basically saw that when it came to people being able to split bills, it can actually be a nightmare. And in the old days, I'm older. I remember when we did it with cash, we did it with checks, and it was still a problem, a lot of friction. So you found ways to be able to solve for that. I got to ask though, when that's a consumer problem that you've already solved for, what are some of the other consumer problems that you're seeing that are out there in the industry that maybe need some attention that people may not be as aware of?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've seen is specifically around the proposed rulemaking from CFPB on 1033. The title of that contains the words to jumpstart competition in banking relationships for consumers or something along those lines. And I think that one of the things that we will see in the coming years is that consumers will no longer say, hey, I put money in a bank to keep my money safe or to get interest. They want the bank to help the consumer be better with their money. And so I think we'll continue to see consumers asking themselves, yeah, you do this, you do that, but how do you help me be better with my money? And a lot of the successful fintech solutions that have come out, you think about earned wage access as an example, you think about some of those sorts of things. Really, those solutions are helping consumers be better with their money. They're running into tight spots mid-pay cycle, and they need somebody to help them be better with that. But I think there's a lot more to be done in that space, especially in the future of payments. If I think about subscription management as an example, a product that we recently announced, we see a lot of need in that space for a consumer to be able to come in and say, hey, I want all my bills to be due around when I get paid, as an example. So how would it change cash flow for each one of us on a month-to-month basis if all of our bills, instead of being sprinkled throughout the month or whenever we signed up for the service, right? If instead they were paid if we get paid the 1st and 15th, on the 2nd and 16th. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's a start for us on subscription management. But then the future state is, what if we were to be able to get to a point where you sign up for Peacock as a subscription service for streaming a TV show? Once the TV show ends, you're alerted through your banking app that the service that you're done watching a TV show. Do you want us to pause that subscription until that TV show releases the next season? And it's those sorts of things.
You're telling me then, okay, if I'm in one of them binge watching modes and I go and I just purchase a show, and because some of the shows you're purchasing a season or multiple seasons, you'll have a way to make sure that I'm not charged after I finish the last season until the next season starts. I'll get a notification, it'll re-kick in the billing, and then it will take over.
Yeah, so I think it was The Office that recently came out on Peacock, right? And
Uh-huh.
so if people are huge Office fans, and I assume they're not going to do another season of The Office, but let's say that they were. So if you're a huge Office fan and you sign up and you binge the whole all of, I don't know how many seasons there are of The Office, and then we say, okay, we noticed you haven't watched anything in 30 days. Would you like us to pause the subscription, and we'll let you know when another season of The Office comes out? And before that next one comes out, re-enable the service, stand it back up, and get moving. And we see this in so many areas of our lives. Actually, I mean, I don't watch a lot of college. I don't watch a lot of sports generally outside of the Olympics, March Madness, and college football. So what happens is I'll sign up for Hulu in August to watch college football, and then inevitably in May I've forgotten that I had Hulu for the last 3 months and didn't need it. I cancel it. I'm almost all ready to, there's only 3 months until the start of college football season again. So there's hundreds of dollars of savings there for me in optimizing and helping me be better with my money. And that's one of the things we want to do with this.
Okay, it's funny because people who know me are like, I am a champion of so many different things when it comes to helping consumers. I've never ever thought of this. And I just today got an email about a subscription that was about to renew that I'm like, I didn't even know I had that. Cancel that. Cancel that. So to hear that you're going to be able to help consumers with their finances and the balancing of their finances by looking at those types of things, that's phenomenal. But okay, here's something I want to go down a little route here that it requires getting a lot of people's data, and people get kind of weird about their data. But to me, this is a reason why you want to be able to share some of the aspects of your data. You're finding a way to tie into these multiple areas to be able to provide those notifications. So is that right that you basically people give you permission? You're not doing it illegally. I want to stress
Correct.
that it's legal, and then
Yep.
you go out there and you're just showing this is an advantage of being able to look at the data of what exists out there.
Yeah. So a consumer comes into a service and a service tells them. So, for example, today, if you come into any one of our customers, and we work with 4 of the top 10 banks, we work with a lot of the large fintechs like Chime, Robinhood, Coinbase, SoFi, PayPal, those sorts of companies. We work with those sorts of companies to be able to deliver a solution where a consumer comes in and says, I just created a new banking account. Will you help me take action and move my paycheck over from my last bank account to this bank account? And so we'll connect into their payroll system, user permissioned access. We get limited power of attorney to do that on their behalf. And we change the account and routing number their paycheck is sent to the new bank account, right? We do that today, and we do millions of those a year for the sorts of clients
Okay,
that I
that's
just
real
mentioned.
quick. Important. I got to, sorry to interrupt you, but I got to stop.
Yep,
So you're basically telling me one of the biggest headaches, biggest friction points of why people won't ever change bank accounts is because they're
correct.
afraid I got my direct deposit here, I can't move and it's not that easy of a process. But you found a way to be able to solve for that.
Yeah, we solved for that. And then the next step in the process, and sometimes they're actually reversed depending on the consumer behavior, is also to move your payments over.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at your top payments that you're making every month, anywhere from rent and mortgage on down to your auto insurance, and you keep making your way down your monthly payments, your cell phone bill, your home internet, all those sorts, and then your subscriptions, your top of wallet places like Amazon and things like that, right? So we've made it so that you switch over your direct deposit, and now we can switch over all of your payment activity. Those two things coming together are incredibly powerful. And again, going back to what the CFPB described of the fact that they want to jumpstart competition in banking, and they're putting rules down to say banks have to make it easier to switch. And that's the platform that we have built, and we will continue to roll out over the coming years, is making it easier to switch banks, and to switch my relationship so that we can give the consumer the experience they want, not leave them trapped in a relationship that's not good for them.
I, okay, Jordan, I got another question about that. I know that when it comes to people using some of the applications and platforms out there, it's one of those, well, my bank or my credit union, you can't do that. Maybe at that one or that one, but not at mine. Is this something that it doesn't matter what the bank or credit union is that they want to move to? You have that ability, or is it limited in scope?
It's limited in terms of the financial institution has to have deployed us
Uh huh.
in order to switch people to them.
Uh huh.
But switching away from, it's not limited.
Ah.
So what it hopefully does is the financial institutions that really care about the customer experience are going to create this, and they're going to have, and my hope is they're going to have tons of inbound, because they're creating a better experience for their customers, far improved from what any of the industry has had to date. And what we're trying to do here is trying to get people to view Atomic as, there have been lots of companies generating insights on consumer payments and consumers on that sort of stuff over time. We want to be known as the action layer. Insight is interesting and it's actually critical. A check the box sort of must have item, but without the ability to take action. So, for example, you got this thing this morning that said, it sounds like, oh, this bill is about to be paid, FYI. And you're like, I didn't remember signing up for that. That's a helpful insight. But without the option for you to press a button to say, I'd actually rather cancel that service right now, it's interesting, but not like maximum utility, maximum help possible. And so that's what we want consumers to walk away from. One way that my co-founder describes it, which I love, is he's like, when somebody's sitting in their banking app, they should be sitting in mission control for all the things that their payments are connected to. And they should be able to reach into those services from their banking app, as opposed to, oh, I get an insight here, so now I have to go into my Netflix app to be able to adjust something, or I got an insight here, now I have to go over here to get something done. It should all be, I should be able to reach into each one of those different applications and services from my banking app where I see the payment connectivity that is concerning or is interesting to me.
All right, I gotta know. Can you do this for 401ks? Because let me tell you, right now, I am in the process of moving from an app-based 401k that I set up, actually an IRA. That I didn't realize when I set it up. I did it just to play and see how the app would work, and I ended up getting some money into it. Now I'm trying to move it before it gets taxed, and I mean, I gotta get this document. I gotta print it. It's got to have a wet signature. It's got to be notarized. It's got to be sent to this person. I mean, it's just all these headaches, and it sounds like that's the type of thing that you're able to just take and consolidate in one place and be able to fix.
It is that sort of thing that we've been working on. Although I think Capitalize is the company for you on 401k. I'm not an advisor to them or anything like that, but they have tried to solve that problem on 401k. We've been more focused on payment connectivity and things like that, and the places where I store my payments online. But yeah, that's a massive problem that needs to be solved as well. And honestly, like, I'm not a fan of more regulation generally, but somebody needs to hold those people accountable for the fact that they are holding your money hostage because they make fees off of the cash that sits in there. And they need to make it easier for people to switch that over.
We're going to get away from that because I could go down that rabbit hole. But the point is you're still able to identify those types of problems. It
Yes.
shows how much friction that's out there. And, there's some other key words that we hear in the industry today, things like financial inclusion, things like financial upward ability too, being able to have better management, being able to have better insights. It sounds like that is the type of stuff that you're doing, is you're giving that upward ability, those insights to it. What are the other things that you're solving for and helping people to do?
Yeah. So in our ideal world, today when somebody interacts with Atomic, we're verifying income and employment for a loan.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody will come in and it's the coverage we're able to offer is vastly improved over past systems that just rely on social, first name, last name, date of birth. So you're getting a lot more of the long tail covered there and adding value in terms of verifying income and employment. We also do a lot in the tax space. So when you go sign up to do taxes this next year, some of the largest providers in the country will be using Atomic to connect in and get your W-2, so you don't have to take pictures of it and pull it over and upload it and things like that. You can just connect into your payroll system. We'll hand it off to that tax system on your behalf. That's another example of something that we do. But I would say that if you look at the future growth and expectation for us and where our large clients are pushing us, it is down this subscription management route where we're just, we're going to knock off, opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Subscription management for all my major subscriptions, Netflix, Hulu, blah, 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 right? But then it's top of wallet sort of card places where I'm storing my money online, store my card online. Then it's things like rent, mortgage, auto insurance. But in some of those cases, especially, who knows when interest rates begin to fall again or when, right? But if those begin to fall at some point, my financial institution is going to want to know, hey, Jordan took out a loan at 7 or 8% to buy a car. When is the right time to bring him back into the fold? And for a time that a lot of financial institutions weren't able to deploy capital because of capital reserves that each of these financial institutions had, right? They're going to want to be able to bring that person back in when that time comes. And the right thing, I think, to do for that consumer is to tell them, hey, now is a time to refinance and get that down to 5% or something more manageable on the auto loan side of things, and to bring that customer back into the fold and the broader relationship. Those are the sorts of experiences we're going to be targeting and working on to allow the financial institution to give a better offering to customer. And as it gets more competitive for consumers, all of us are going to benefit from the fact that it's more competitive for our business.
So again, what I'm hearing for everybody out there listening is these are the reasons why we want to be able to have the data available, or why you want to be able to share it. And I want to point out something. You've mentioned CFPB a couple of times, and that's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It is a government organization that has been created to be able to help protect consumers so that their data is still, has to be, used correctly. It cannot be used incorrectly. And I'm sure you could verify for me that you're not looking at anything you're not allowed to look at. You're not looking for anything more than just to be able to, like in the case of taxes, grab the W-2. In the case of confirming employment, just confirming the employment. You're not trying to go and find other things, like, because when I mention taxes, a lot of times people are like, am I going to have to pay more because you go and report everything? But you're not doing all of that. You're really only accessing what people say you can access, correct?
That is correct, but the focus on this is user permissioned, and AI has been throwing out the term of an agent on behalf of a consumer. We're becoming an agent on behalf of the consumer to exercise their will across the internet. And so, do you want to be the one that has to go into each one of these services and grab the data, or do you want to give an agent the ability to go exercise something? And we were one of the first in our industry specifically to prevent or to present very candid T's and C's. As an example, we have terms and conditions just like every company does that you can click into and read everything. But when you come into Atomic, it says, here's what Atomic has access to do, or here's what you're giving Atomic the right to do. And it says very clearly, change your direct deposit. Or it says very clearly, verify your income and employment. We'll have access to things like timesheets or your pay stubs or your W-2s. And we'll state that very clearly for them on a page. And we even say don't have access to. So if we're just changing direct deposit, we'll say that means we don't have access to verifying your income and employment. We don't have access to your wages. We don't have access to anything else. We just have access to the information around direct deposit. And so we've tried to be ultra transparent since starting our company so that consumers could know exactly what we're doing on their behalf without burying it in some terms of use they'll never read.
All right, you hit the key word I was thinking there, transparency. And then you ended right there with the burying it. For those listening, if you've ever read terms and conditions, you'll be amazed at what you probably have given people or organizations permission to do that you're not even aware of. So to hear that they're being that transparent, that upfront about it, probably to me, it builds trust, by having that transparency. And it really makes me want to go use the process and go use the service. Are there any other
One
things that you are doing that maybe in the future are going to be able to benefit people too?
Yeah, you mentioned the idea of building trust. And I
Uh-huh.
think that this is something that's been, when you're a user permission access company, we put a tremendous amount of focus on building trust and keeping trust, and especially with the clients we work with. When you're working with some of the largest banks and fintechs, and when you're working with any bank in the United States, there's a degree of trust that comes along. You're riding a tailwind of the trust that they've already generated over time. And so, one thing that we focused on is usually user permissioned access requires credentials given to another service so they can go operate on your behalf. We created a technology called TrueAuth that is more like an OAuth experience if you're familiar with OAuth, but OAuth is third party based authentication. We've created and are patent pending on a technology called TrueAuth that allows us to actually just when we're authenticating into a payroll system or into Netflix or into Amazon, we actually just pull up Amazon.com itself, Netflix.com itself, and they'll log into Netflix.com itself. So we never get the username and password on behalf of the consumer. All of this happens on their device, and the information is then sent from their device up to Netflix or up to Amazon or up to payroll system XYZ, right? And so that's really, really exciting to us, again, because it builds trust and it builds when we can do that for a consumer, we're giving them an experience that nobody else in our industry is giving them, and is a vastly improved experience where it's like the relationship didn't start with you giving us everything that is important to you. It started with us actually building confidence in the system by pointing you directly to the systems that you're already trying accessing every day.
Well, I just want to say, anybody listening, this is not intended to be a sales pitch, and it's not a sales pitch. What we're doing is we're showing that there are so many issues that exist when it comes to the transparency of what happens in our industry. There's so many friction points, like you just pointed out right there, of where it requires data, it requires so much time to go into these multiple programs to be able to pull the data, to be able to get the access, to get the end result you're looking for. And that's just something that you've been able to solve for. And it's also something that you pointed out too, that regulatory bodies like the CFPB are starting to look at and saying, hey, financial sector, banks, credit unions, fintechs, you got to fix this. So just wanted to stop and point that out. Now, you also talked a lot here of this is some futuristic stuff to me. And I love looking at what's the future really look like, because I know right now, also regulatory, we hear like Credit Card Competition Act, that's a big headline that's out there. CFPB and open banking about to happen. What are some of the other things that you're hearing or you're thinking and you're working towards that are going to be happening in the future of electronic banking and helping consumers we haven't even thought of yet?
Yeah, thank you for that comment, and for the question. So I think that the long term future is a future where consumers have a right to know everywhere that their data is being utilized,
Mhm.
but they also have the ability to interact with those services wherever they may be, um, without um, like you were describing your 401k example, without that sort of experience, right? Like certainly the future should exist where I don't have to put a wet signature on something. But in addition to that, there's just so much there in that future where automated agents can go and act on your behalf. Again, checking in with you and saying, is this really what you want done? But in my ideal world, 5 years from now, you come into your banking application says something like, looks like you might be overpaying on auto insurance. Would you like to connect your current auto insurance and have us go shop for you on your behalf? And at what point do you want to be alerted? At what discount on a monthly basis to your current policy would you like to be alerted? That's an equivalent policy. It's a very difficult technical challenge to solve for right now. But with some of the things we're seeing with AI, some of the developments there, we are leveraging a fair amount of AI in our company right now. We'll see that future come around in 3 to 5 years where I can come into a banking system of some kind and it can be actively recommending for me. For example, you purchased the bundled Hulu, Disney Plus, blah, 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 blah thing. It's actually better for you to unbundle that financially, or it's better for you to bundle one more thing with it, right? Those sorts of things that we're not very good at thinking about in the moment as we're trying to sign up to watch some show, right? It's going to be able to take that apart for you in the long run and be able to automate some of that finance capability. And people have been talking about this automated the Google Maps for finances. They've been talking about this concept for over a decade. But without the action layer, it was never feasible. And so that's what probably excites me the most. In 5 years, we're going to be able to tell things to take action on our behalf and within certain boundaries and certain guidelines. And it's going to go do that for us. It's going to be a big time saver for all of us. I mean, I think about, I just had to switch over my internet and it took me 3 months to switch over to cancel my old internet provider because you can only call between the hours of 8 and 5. It's like, this is when I'm working normally. I don't have a ton of time in this to sit on hold for 2 hours. And so you try to call right on your drive home and you're on hold for an hour and a half, and you're like, I can't get in and talk to them. Like those sorts of things, gone will be those days, in my opinion, in the next 5 years. And we'll have things to be able to make those sorts of decisions. We make those decisions that are best for us, and we send agents out to act on our behalf.
You mentioned AI and the automated agents a couple times, and I hear so many people say that AI is going to mean the Terminator. Well, what it's going to be is the termination of losing money is what it's really doing here for you. It's going to be
Yes.
the ability to start saving it. It's going to be the ability to use what you have more effectively, more wisely, too, I would say, too. Well, Jordan, we're getting here towards the end. Are there any closing comments you'd want to leave with people about this is what you should be considering? This is what you should be looking at, especially financial institutions. I know a lot of financial institutions tune into the Payments Professor, a lot of consumers too that are going to be grateful and going, how do I get this or get my bank or credit union to start getting some of these services and make use of this myself?
Yeah, I would say, in order to make that future happen, we do need people that are concerned about it actually happening, right? And so, the CFPB has a mandate to act on the best interest of consumers,
Mm-hmm.
but I think consumers are the best people to say what is the best for them, and they should vote with their feet for with the services that make it the best on them, that actually help them be better with their money, that actually step in and help solve problems for them. And so, I would say, that's what gets me excited, and I talk to our team members at our company about this all the time, is that I'm fortunate to have started a company that literally everyone around me, when I go somewhere, I know my product is embedded on their phone somewhere. That is really cool. But in the next 3 to 5 years, not only is our product embedded on their phone, but all of them will have used us to help them save money. And that's what really gets me excited, is again championing that financial upward mobility for everyone. And we're in a position, given our clientele and the products we're building, to be able to do that for people, and that's what really gets me excited.
Well, Jordan, I want to thank you for being here. And I love your excitement too. Not very many people can match the excitement level I have for payments, but you've outdone me today. So congrats on that. I love the
Thank you.
work that you're doing too. For those of you out there listening, it's Jordan Wright. He is with Atomic Financial. I know you can find him on LinkedIn because I found him there. There's the Atomic Financial website you can go to as well. We also talked a little bit about the CFPB. That's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You can find them on the internet. And if you've got a complaint that you need to issue or you want to find out more information about what they're doing, their website has a lot of great information. Otherwise, if there's a speaker or maybe a topic that you think should be included on the payments podium, email me, kevin@paymentsprofessor.com. We will do what we can to make sure that we get that speaker or we get that topic addressed for you. But for now, this is where I say, class dismissed.